Okay, so hi guys, welcome back to the IIDA Summit, which is being hosted by the Architect's Diary. My name is Architect Vinita Ghoshal. Hope you are still there with us and are enjoying yourself in the IIDA 2.0 that we are hosting right now. So, anyhow, it's time to move on to the first speaker of the day. Unfortunately, Mr. Pierce Taylor couldn't join us because he's in a really low network, and surrounding, and therefore we really couldn't get him on board due to network conditions. But we don't really need to be morose because we have somebody equally interesting and somebody equally power packed with beautiful views and really thought provoking ideas that he would like to share with us. And that person is architect Ram Khandelwal. Ram Khandelwal is the founder of Urban Innovation Lab. He has over a decade of experience in the urban sector, uh, from consultancy ranging from policy implementation in smart city housing, mobility, water, solid and liquid waste management, and municipal infrastructure. His recent interests include sustainable spatial development, climate action, and urban innovation. He has formerly worked with PwC, IPE Global, Yes Bank, ICF International, and CRISIL. While since I'm pretty sure all our audience back there would not want me to hear anymore, but rather I would really request Architect Ram Khandelwal to take the stand and yeah, please share your thoughts, your journey, your how you began this beautiful venture that you are on currently, and what you are working on, what is brewing behind those. We are in your studio. We are very excited and really dying to hear that. So please, Ram Khandelwal.
Thank you, Vinita, and I'm really pleased to be here today. And thank you, Ida, for inviting me to this session. It's really a pleasure to be here and interact with the fellow participants in the show. So today I'm going to talk about very interesting topic which cuts across most of your lives. So as architects, a lot of you have been designing buildings. Some of you may already be designing campuses, housing societies, corporation complexes, etc. And many of us wonder that the impact that we are trying to make in our neighborhoods, in our cities, how does it reflect when we look at a city? So my topic of discussion is going to be around cities today. I'm going to talk about how architecture and cities go together, and what is the journey that we have had in this space, what is it that we have learned so far, and which are the emerging areas where we see a lot of traction happening in industry. So, first of all, in terms of cities today, if we look at the numbers, see, almost 50% of the people in world already live in cities, and by 2050, the number is going to be huge. 8 out of 10 people will be living in cities across the globe. And if you look at where we are in India, so almost we are 3 billion, almost 30 CR plus population living in cities. And by 2050, it is projected that uh, 1 out of 2 persons will be living in cities. So, cities is something where a lot of action is happening, where a lot of growth is happening. Nearly 70% of our country's GDP actually comes from cities. So this is where a lot of people and economic activities are taking place, and this is where the real action is happening for future urban development. Now, we have the opportunities, but at the same time there comes the challenges. So we look at various issues which cities face. These issues are related to quality of housing. A lot of people in our cities live in slum habitats. They live in poor condition areas where they lack basic amenities, etc. Some cities have slum population as high as 30 to 40%. So every third or fourth person in the city is forced to live in an inhospitable environment. Now, that's one of the challenges which comes in habitat, but that's not the only challenge. There are other challenges too. As cities are growing, transportation systems are becoming difficult, they get choked, the travel time is increasing, the pollution levels are increasing, access to basic amenities uh, faces a lot of challenges, be it waste management, be it water management, be it energy demand. Every year on year, our energy demand is increasing. Compared to Western countries, our per capita energy demand is still low, but we are on a trend where our energy intensity is increasing, and thus our carbon footprints are also increasing. And interesting part is that architecture actually plays a great role in this, because 40% of the carbon emissions which happen actually happen in building sector, and these buildings are the ones which are designed and planned by various architects. So if our architectural community works around the human built environment sector and start looking at what could be the possible ways of reducing energy intensity in buildings, then probably we are going to do a big time contribution to climate action. So 40% of carbon intensity is coming from buildings. So how do we make these buildings more energy efficient? Now, we have so many challenges and so many opportunities, and in this landscape, we have come together with this outfit called as Urban Innovation Lab. What is Urban Innovation Lab? Urban Innovation Lab is experimental ground where we look at various urban problems. These urban problems are related to buildings. These urban problem are related to urban form, related to transportation, related to green infrastructure, blue infrastructure, and so on. And at the same time, we also see that each one of these, what could be the possible business cases to solve these problems. Most of the time, we tend to rely on government actors to solve these problems, but we take a very pragmatic approach that cities are not just managed by government. Uh, when we ask ourselves a question that who does city belong to or who runs the city, municipal corporation is not the only answer. There are so many players who are influencing what cities are, how cities shape, how cities operate. And these all players have power to influence how cities will work. And that is how we start discovering the process of looking at various players who can influence city form and city dynamics, and then start working on the problems which can help cities become better. Possible use cases, so let's say urban flooding, which is one of the very common phenomena in many cities. So you'll see that every year you have some or the other incidences of flooding happening in cities, especially in low-lying areas, especially in areas where vulnerable settlements are there, especially in areas where you see a lot of unplanned growth, and these people are at risk of health and life. So how do we make cities work for these people? How do we actually make sure that these kind of people are actually saved from these risks? How these risks are mitigated? And that's when we start looking at what could be the possible applications of technology in urban development. So in this case, we are looking at application of technology in mitigating urban floods, how that can be done, looking at possible use cases of developing scenarios, modeling around terrain, trying to understand what the terrain is, what is the rainfall pattern, what could be the possible simulation depending on upon how much rainfall is going to happen, which areas are low-lying areas, where are the settlements which are in low-lying areas, and identifying and detecting vulnerable population so that appropriate action can be taken. So uh, these kind of use cases help us understand that where our cities are struggling and where could be the possible data driven decision making which can happen, so that there's an advanced action which can help cities mitigate the risk and make life better for its people. At Urban Innovation Lab, we have been working on two major areas. One area is where we work on products, which is digital products in nature. The second area is advisory services. So, in terms of digital products, we have developed a platform called as Urban Pi. Urban Pi is a place where you could find various innovative solutions on urban sector. So if you want to make your water supply systems work better, if you want to make your energy systems make better, if you want to make your construction technology make better, there are a lot of examples, case studies, video case studies, audio articles, text articles which are available on our website, which we keep on covering. And we are also quite active on our social media handles on LinkedIn as well as Facebook and on Instagram. There you'll see that we have done a lot of case studies. So, for example, one of the case studies that we did recently was on Ahmedabad heat climate action plan. That how Ahmedabad heat climate action plan helped saving lives of various citizens. It included a green cool roof program. Likewise, Madhya Pradesh has come up with a redensification policy which allows redensification of internal areas, which can help create housing complexes within the city limits. So now you don't need to travel 20 kilometers outside the city to have new age, new kind of architecture, new urban form within the cities. So this is an area which we have explored in one of the case studies. Another case study that we did was on use of eco materials, use of various type of advanced materials which can capture carbon and reduce the intensity of building construction, reduce the carbon emissions. There have been case studies about startups. So there are many startups who are helping cities become better. So, for example, we've come across a startup in Bangalore which decentralizes the EV charging infrastructure. So now that we are transitioning from a regular charging from petrol and diesel vehicle based vehicle to electric vehicles, we also need a supporting infrastructure for charging of electric vehicles. So far, government has been focusing on centralized approach where government agencies are setting up public infrastructure like petrol pumps. They now have EV charging stations. But this particular startup is revolutionizing market. They are giving the power to local economy. They are allowing local vendors like a panwala or maybe a restaurant owner or maybe a shop owner to set up small charging stations just right next to their premise. It is IoT controlled, and you could just simply go to this place, run your errands, and within 15 minutes, your vehicle will be charged. And with using technology, you can actually see how much electricity you have consumed in charging, what are the charges. You can use digital wallet to make payments, and so on. So, what was thought to be a public investment sector is now becoming a sector where people are making investment. So these kind of examples show that there's a lot of potential in private sector, which is helping cities become better, and they can actually transform the landscape of cities in a different way altogether. Similarly, there are many such startups. There are people who are recycling plastics. There are people who are using computer vision to identify and segregate waste using robotics and so on. So there's a lot of new traction which is happening, a lot of new technology which is coming in this sector, a lot of new startups and technology companies who are bringing out these solutions. So and these are changing the face of cities in a big way. And when it comes to architecture, buildings, there are a lot of new technology applications nowadays. You can do construction site management using software as a service model. There are companies like Falcon Bricks who provide these kind of solutions. You could also visualize your house in a 3D environment using services like Ghar 360 and so on. So there's a lot of new technology which is actually making things work better, work more efficiently, and more proficiently. Now, Urban Innovation Lab has been tapping these opportunities. We are doing a lot of knowledge products around them. We are putting together these case studies, which helps cities improve their quality of life. And we have been appreciating all these through our digital content. In addition, we also do advisory services. So we are working with one of the multilateral, bilateral client, and one of the use cases which we are discussing with them is how can we use new technologies like, let's say, blockchain, Internet of Things, AI, and machine learning in most difficult circumstances like disaster management. So, how does disaster management actually, from a manual to semi-automatic to more latest advanced technologies, how it these processes can be optimized? And in such cases, we start looking at disaster management like an operations management exercise, like a chain management exercise, and start putting together use cases for technologies like blockchain, IoT, AI, ML, etc., to make sure that uh, we are able to optimize every bits and piece of the operations management cycle that we have. This study actually gives a framework which can help people apply these frameworks in their cities, in their districts, identifying the processes where these new technologies can be integrated, cut the costs of operations, make them more effective, make them more trustable, accountable. The leakages are less, and the efficiency level goes higher. So we are currently scoping out this study for one of our clients. Similarly, we also uh, did another advisory service for one of our client, which is a corporate social responsibility of a major technology company in India, where we advise them in terms of streamlining one of their CSR programs. So they have been working in a city in NCR and helping improve solid and liquid waste management in the cities. So, with the cooperation of people, we have tried to structure a competition called as Clean Community Challenge, where we look at how communities can be made more sustainable through a competitive approach. So we designed a framework for them, which can help them understand what could be the possible areas in which neighborhood should work. This includes sanitation, this includes sustainability, this includes operational efficiency in service delivery, this includes inclusiveness of, let us say, women, child, old, disabled communities, and so on. And this also includes institutionalization, taking educate measures for welfare of their workers, staff, sanitary workers, and so on. And we designed a framework which looked at holistic neighborhoods. So if you want to do an ideal neighborhood, then what all good features it should have, and developed a self-assessment framework for them to evaluate where do they stand. And then accordingly, they could assess that what could be the possible areas of their improvement. And on a year-on-year basis, they can start improving, taking up those measures and start improving the quality of life in their neighborhoods. So as a city, there are multiple scale at which we operate. We operate at a regional, at a city, and a neighborhood level, and help them put together decisions which can be effective at policy level, or some of them at program level or implementation level. So that's largely what we do. Our sole objective is to make cities better, and we work across various sectors, subsectors, ranging from buildings, energy efficiency, waste management, utilities, transportation, etc. and look at various types of innovations which can happen. These innovations could be product based innovations, either tech products or startup products. These could be process based innovations where you change the government way of working in a certain way and do a process engineering. It could be citizen innovation where you look at innovative ways of involving citizens, and also the business model innovation where you start looking at what could be the possible areas through which you can get funding, and you can improve the funding mechanisms, make it self-sustainable and so on. So that's largely what we do, and I'll be really happy to take up following questions from the audience on any of the areas which I've spoken about, or anything related to innovation and cities and the role of architectural community in this. So there, I'd like to give it a pause and hand it over back to Vinita.
Yes. Thank you so much, Architect Ram Khandelwal, for the insightful and yeah, thank you so much, Architect Ram Khandelwal, for the insightful and absolutely meaningful, a little sneak peek into what goes in. As I said, these events and such speeches from such architects like you actually, broadens our horizons and helps us to think in many more different directions that we could possibly not even imagine, for that matter. Repeating myself again, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to email them to us at IIDA Summit, that is IIDA Summit @gmail.com. And definitely we will try to give you a prompt response by Architect Ram himself. Yeah, so that's about it. But thank you so much, Architect Ram, for joining us, for the beautiful speech that you gave us, and for the most insightful and beautiful perspective that you gave us about architecture into affecting people's lives and how it can actually improve people's lives above everything and work towards humanity. So with that note, I would like to state that we have come to the end of this session of IIDA Summit 2.0, and I would request all my audience that now you can actually go ahead, take a break, revive yourself for a very great another round of sessions that are going to be coming up soon. So you can absolutely break off, have some nutritious lunch, or maybe just take a chill in the networking lounge and network your way through. But with that, let's see. I really hope to see each one of you again in the next session. Thank you.